Disturb. Oh, we are live. Hey guys, Evan's here from Senior Fit,
And
uh,
Alyssa.
and Alyssa, and we're super pumped to talk to you about, prepping for Thanksgiving. So how do you navigate Thanksgiving? I guess I'll start first with, when I think about preparing for Thanksgiving, there are three groups of people. There's those people who are concerned with Thanksgiving from they're brand new to their fitness journey, and so they're trying to figure out, okay, like what do I do, and is Thanksgiving going to mess up my the investment that I or the decision I just made towards moving towards my goals. And brand new could be like within 2 months, or brand new could be the fact that uh, um, you're just now like establishing the habits. And then you have the people who are stuck. Maybe you've been on your journey for a little bit, and you hit a plateau. You're doing all the right stuff, but you're not seeing the results that you want to see. And then thirdly, we have that person who has like great momentum, that advanced person. You've been rocking on all cylinders, you're finally beginning to see the results, and now there may be a little bit of anxiety tied to holidays and to Thanksgiving. And I want to enjoy Thanksgiving, but I don't want to regain any weight. So we're going to adjust all those things and give strategies for each of those individuals and help support them along the way. So I guess, Alyssa, you want to start off with some of the maybe the mindset pieces and some of the other things that you may have as a beginner, and we'll kind of say this is what the beginner thinks, this is what the intermediate, and kind of go through it from that standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I want to talk about mindset and sort of, I guess I'll just put it this way, stress, right? So holidays are an awesome time of the year. We get to spend time with our families and have a lot of fun, get to take a couple days off from work, maybe. So that's exciting. But holidays can also bring in a certain amount of stress, whether that is being, interacting with your family members, or I think COVID has added a layer to the holidays too, as well, that people might be concerned about. And so the holidays are really meant to be a fun time. And so what we don't want is focusing on our weight loss and our goals to add additional stress to the holiday. We really want to enjoy ourselves. And so it's really important that the mindset going in to the holidays and to Thanksgiving is, one of like, okay, I'm going to enjoy myself. And then recognizing that one day is not going to cause me to completely go off the rails when it comes to my goals. So I can enjoy the holiday, and then what's going to allow me to move forward and gain momentum in the last couple months of the year is what happens after the single day. So the holiday is just that, a day. It's one day. Where people go wrong sometimes is they turn that day into a week, or maybe I don't know, a stretch between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's one thing. It's like, okay, it's a day. So we're going to talk today about how to, win the day and have fun doing that. And then some post Thanksgiving strategies as well.
Absolutely. And I'd even say that understand that your concerns and anxieties you have around going into Thanksgiving, we get, and they're real.
Hmm.
Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, typically people gain the most amount of weight that they actually keep on going into the next year. So, there are some goals that people have, and for some, it may be just to maintain your weight during the
Hmm.
holidays, and for some, is to lose weight during the season. But understand that we get that, there is good cause, potentially for this anxiety, going into Thanksgiving or into the holidays, because this is where people gain most of the weight that they gain. But like
Hmm.
Alyssa said, if we focus on that one day only, we should be able to crush it. So let's start with the beginner. So we have this person, your brand spanking new. Let's talk about some mindset pieces. How about you do the mindset? I'll do the structure of the day.
Oh, sounds good. All right. So the mindset, when you're just starting out on your fitness journey, or maybe you're just at a place where like you're finally getting to the point where you're getting to a rhythm a little bit. So when it comes to mindset, you don't want to backslide, right? You go into the holiday, you're excited maybe, but you don't want to, ruin any momentum that you're getting. But consider, that One day is not going to prevent you from reaching your goals. So relax. That's the biggest thing. Don't change anything that you're normally doing. Just enjoy the holiday. Have all the fixins. Where you're going to see the most benefit for the beginner is not the day of Thanksgiving, but really the day after and the days following Thanksgiving. So that's sort of the mindset going in.
Absolutely. So, what's some things you can do, right? One is, maybe do an exercise in a day, a 30-minute exercise. It can be anywhere from a fast paced walk to a HIIT training, depending how advanced you are with exercising. But definitely get a workout in before everybody gets busy in the day. It's a great way to set your body to receive all those extra carbs you're going to eat. And then just eat a sensible a meal throughout, for breakfast, something that's higher in protein. If you like eggs, you could definitely throw some eggs in there, but a higher protein breakfast. And then the rest of the day, just enjoy yourself. So when you look at the structure of the day, is you have that breakfast meal in, and then we want to just enjoy the day. And maybe I'll deal with the meal, and then you wrap us up with what to do after Thanksgiving. So since we're talking about enjoy yourself, couple strategies, right? One is eat whatever you want on Thanksgiving. Right. So for the beginner, we want you to eat whatever you want, but drink water, throughout the course of the day, So, with every meal that you're getting in, you can maybe drink a glass of water with it. This is a great way to help with satiety cues, but still get the decadence and the things that you wouldn't normally eat on Thanksgiving. So don't like waste your calories with like chocolate chip cookies. If you could eat them anytime, maybe go after that macaroni and cheese that you haven't had in a while, but then you can add the twist to go twist tubes in there. I put them in my water all the time as a way to help you get in there, or the fizzy tabs to help you with it. So the last thing is pay attention to what's called your satiety cues. And I know as you're new, you may not know what that is, but basically when you feel full, stop. And before you get that second plate, wait about 15 to 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes for your brain to get the signal that your stomach is full in there. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Alyssa for the beginner to, what do you do after Thanksgiving?
All right. So the day after Thanksgiving, the first one is just to hydrate still. So, you definitely want to ensure that you're keeping well hydrated, wake up, have a glass of water. And that's something that can really help just with feeling better the next day. I feel like half the time. Also, you just want to get back on track. So, it's like get back to your plan, whatever you're working on with your coach, and just keep moving forward. So don't stress it too much. It's just like, all right, today's a new day. Let's get back on track. And then this one's something that maybe most people haven't thought of, but weigh yourself. And the reason why we say that is because your weight is going to be up the next day. It is, you're eating more food, you're going to have more food in your system. So your weight's going to be up. We want to see that so that in a couple days, as we weigh ourselves every day and we sort of see like, okay, when it comes down, we want to know that we're down from where we were. So it just helps our mindset a little bit, because I think it can be a little discouraging if a couple days later you step on the scale and you're a little bit up. Well, there's a reason why. So we want to see that it starts trending back down.
Awesome. So we talked about that second person, someone who's maybe been plateaued for a little bit or stuck. And now it's like, okay, Thanksgiving's coming. Don't want to regain weight. I haven't moved weight in a while. So, I'll do the mindset, and then Alyssa will do some of the other things is, I understand that you don't want to backslide, right? But, but this may be a great way to kind of de-stress and actually take your body's metabolism up to a higher level. So whenever you eat more food, you do increase what's called a thermic effect of food. So your body's metabolism does increase a little bit. So just be intentional, with the choices that you're making, and keep your goals in mind, but have fun that day, because you'll be surprised. I would say over 90% of our clients, when they follow the strategy, they actually lose weight the next couple of days coming out of Thanksgiving. So let's talk about the structure in the meal, and I'll do the post plan.
Okay, sounds good. So structure your day very similar to the beginning. We want to exercise at least 30 minutes, whether that's going for a walk or anything to get your heart rate up, to just prime your body. And then, having a sensible breakfast again, maybe some additional protein like protein shakes or something like that, just to prime you for the rest of your day. And then hydration again is important. But the biggest thing still, even if you're someone who's feeling stuck, is enjoy yourself. Typically when someone's feeling stuck, maybe there's a lot of stress going on in your world. And so we want to just take this as an opportunity to enjoy the people you're with and be present and have fun. And then as we rock into the meal, which is the favorite part of the day, there's a couple things that you can do to just help your body adapt to the food. So a couple of those things is supplementation. So taking glucose health and carb blocker before you eat can do a couple things for your body. So glucose health can help prevent those insulin spikes from occurring, because we're going to be eating a lot of carbs and sugar. At least we do in my household. I don't know about you, but the pie is real. So we're going to be taking some glucose health, and then carb blocker because it blocks up to 500 calories worth of carbohydrates, which can be helpful because Thanksgiving tends to have a lot of carb heavy foods. And then controlling alcohol intake. So it's a holiday. That means we're having festivities and having a lot of fun. So aim for things like sugar-free mixers. Ensure you're drinking water throughout the night to just counterbalance some of the alcohol intake that you may be having.
Awesome. And then what do you do afterwards? Well, a couple of things I recommend is ensure that you have cooked or prepared on Thanksgiving what you're going to eat after Thanksgiving. So Alyssa and I were talking. I said, hey, if something has more than 2 macronutrients in it, probably don't take it with you. So what does that mean? That macaroni and cheese that we talked about earlier, that has carbs, fat, and protein in it, and it's mostly carbs and fat. So instead, what we're going to do is leave that wherever Thanksgiving is. And if Thanksgiving is at your house, they got to take it with them, excuse me, throw it away. Things like mashed potatoes, right? It's not just potato. You have butter and milk and cream, whatever you put in your mashed potatoes. So instead, you want to ensure that there is things that are available like chicken breasts or shrimp or fish, some rice, some cooked potatoes, some vegetables that weren't like cooked in fat. All those kind of things are things you want to have so that the next day you have tools and resources from a food perspective to continue. One big thing to note is that you may still feel really full the next day because everything hasn't left your body yet, but do your best to continue to go after your macronutrient goals. You still want to keep your metabolism up. Again, you want to weigh yourself the day after Thanksgiving because it's going to be exciting to see you drop about 3 pounds is typically what people lose after Thanksgiving, so you can kind of see that. And you'll see that many times it's a great time for you to like get out of the stuck range, which is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I already talked about go back to tracking and hitting your macros from there. So the last group of people is the advanced individuals. So you're someone who you've got momentum now. And I always tell clients is like month 3 is when momentum kicks in. It's like, the first couple of months you're kind of learning how to like ride the bike. And then month 3 is like, boom, so you have some momentum, things are doing good. And you're concerned with ruining your momentum. So I'll hit the mindset like we just did before. And, understand that one day is not going to throw you off. The reason why you're on this journey for many of us is so that we can live a quality life and a life that we enjoy with our family members. It's not a quality life if you're there trying to pull out a food scale at Thanksgiving. And it's a little socially awkward, so unless you're doing a bodybuilding show coming in the holidays is not really something that you need to do, but use that opportunity to celebrate your health and the ones that you want to be healthy for. So really important things. In the past couple of months, you probably haven't been eating things that are higher in fat and sugar. So just, you can enjoy a little bit of that, but be mindful that you may have some GI challenges tied to now putting things that are heavier back into your system. So things like digestive enzymes are great tools and resources to help you adapt to consuming food. It may take you about 2 to 3 days, honestly, to even get your bowel movements back to regularity if you don't have digestive enzymes, just because you're not used to eating the types of food that you eat during Thanksgiving. So that, Alyssa, I give you the structure and the meal.
Awesome. So you'll notice some trends, right? So a lot of this stuff is crossover for all 3 of the different categories of folks. So exercising at least 30 minutes, if you want to tag on a little bit extra, go for it. Because that's just going to help start your day right. Again, eating a protein heavy breakfast, maybe even adding some extra veggies in. If you feel like you're going to get hungry before the dinner time comes, veggies and eggs and stuff like that is a great way to bulk up the amount of food that you're eating. Without all the extra calories. So that's good. So eat relatively light throughout your day. So, you have this big dinner coming up, depending on what time of day you eat dinner, you may want to eat a little bit light so you can save room for the goodies later in the evening. And then while you're cooking, I think Evans had mentioned this a little bit ago, ensuring that you're cooking extra of the things that fit within your plan. So you're cooking anyway, might as well utilize that time to cook some extras that are going to fit within your goals over the next couple days, and get some meal prep time in as well. And then still, enjoy yourself. It's meant to celebrate. You're celebrating your health and your family. So make sure you do that. For the meal, a little bit more detailed when it comes to the tips for the actual meal itself. So for the advanced, let's talk about alcohol. So for every alcoholic beverage that you have the equivalent amount of water. So if you have a 4-ounce glass of wine, have a 4-ounce glass of water to go with it, pair it equally. This will help the scale with the next day, but also just how you feel waking up tomorrow. Also for desserts, one of my favorites, eat only what you can fit on maybe a small plate or one plate, because even though with desserts portion sizes tend to be a little bit small, the calories are big. Think about like pumpkin pie, apple pie, cakes, whatever your dessert of choice is, they're going to have a big impact. So if you can go a little bit lighter on those, do so. And then extra plates. So I know for me, I am not a 1-plate kind of gal for Thanksgiving. I am like a 3-plate throughout the rest of the night kind of gal. So for every additional plate that you get, just have less and less starchy carbs as the night goes on. So you may have like potatoes and rolls and stuffing in your first plate, but maybe don't go back for all of those. Maybe pick one and then, taper off with some more vegetables and protein as the night goes on. So that's for the meal itself. Now for the post Thanksgiving plan, I'll give it over to you, Evans.
All right, awesome. As we wrap up here, it's very similar, right? Macro-friendly meals. So we want to ensure that we have our foods ready to rock back on, because it's not Thanksgiving that gets us. It's the day after. Now, I just want to put this out there. I know many people feel that lasagna tastes better after the second day. These are just some sacrifices you have to make, if you want a health long term. Maybe just cook it a day early. I don't know what to tell you, but that next day is not Thanksgiving, right? So so everything has to go. You have to clean out your fridge. You have to, toss away the things that you don't want. Hydrate. That's going to be your number one priority as an advanced person or someone who with great momentum. And we're looking to do is really push towards that half of your body weight in ounces of water. And besides that, relax. Understand that your body will get you back to where you want to go. I think if you use these tips of mindset, structure, planning out the day and the post-day plan, you're going to be very excited on how your body transforms a week after Thanksgiving. And you get to enjoy Thanksgiving as well. So any wrap-up thoughts you have, Alyssa?
The only thing is just that these thought process and mindset can apply to any big dinner throughout the holidays. So some people have multiple Thanksgivings, depending on how their family is structured. And then we have Christmas coming up too, just a few short weeks away. Yikes, the year's going to be almost over. And so, Christmas dinner, Christmas Eve dinner, all of these things can be applied for those as well, if you're the type of family who celebrates those in a big way. So that would just be my thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd say on a separate video, it would probably be 5 minutes only in a separate one. But I want to talk about navigating the holidays, because like Alyssa said, with all these different meals, the strategy is different. I use what I'm telling you here for Thanksgiving, for Christmas only. And then we have other strategies to manage, multiple events and holidays and things like that. So we'll do another thing before the holidays gets crazy. I already went to one Thanksgiving dinner in here.
No
So
way, really?
yeah, I did. So with that, we wish you happy. I also said happy Merry Christmas, but happy Thanksgiving. And in our newsletter that'll come out later this week, you'll see the links to all these resources and things like that. Even some of these supplements we talked about, you'll have it available to you. You can also pick them up at any one of our locations. So again, I'm Evans here.
And Alyssa.
And have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.